Hey guys, it's Miller here and welcome to another episode of the King Collective. Today I'm joined with a very special guest all the way from Bondi Beach, Sydney. You may have seen him on the TV screens. We've got Trent Falson, aka Singlets. Welcome, brother.
Welcome, and thank you for having me. I had to look over my shoulder there when you said we had someone special in, but yeah, good to be here. Sunny Melbourne.
That's it, man. I know it's unusual. You brought the sun with you.
Yeah, it's gorgeous today. Nice to be here. Thanks again.
No worries, man. So yeah, thanks for jumping on the show. Just wanted to have a chat to you about your experiences as a single dad, and the trials and tribulations that come along with that, mate. So what's kind of your story?
Yeah, it's a bumpy old ride. Single parenting sometimes, isn't it? So I've probably been separated or a single dad now for about 8 years. I've got two beautiful boys that are almost 15 and almost 13. For the past 8 years, just trying to navigate the minefield of sort of being the best parent you can be while faced with the challenges of being a single parent. So it's been really interesting. I'd definitely say that it's been a growth experience for me. I'm a much better human than I was before going through this. And I guess there's something to be taken by finding meaning in adversity.
For sure.
Every tough time holds some kind of magic. So yeah,
100%. So you're 8 years on now. I know that there's been a few ups and downs through that journey. I know that you had your son for about a year. Do you want to just talk about like what kind of happened there?
Yeah, so this year's been a little bit bumpy. I'm navigating the distant parent situation at the moment. At the start of the year, my ex-wife, who we get along well, she decided she was going to make a lifestyle change and move down to the country. She's moved the boys with her, and it's been a really tough time for me. Probably, I would argue, the hardest thing I've ever been through in my whole life. I think last year I had my eldest son full time, and going from full time, having a little human around the house, and someone who you sort of look forward to coming home to and whatnot. And look, any parent can attest to how much you just love being around your children and that connection. So navigating that loss and that void that I have in my life this year has been really, really hard, and something that I'm still sort of grappling with.
Yeah, how have you been able to kind of deal with that even on like a daily basis,
Yeah, look, you have your good days and your bad days. I think it's like anything, and this goes for all sorts of people in all sorts of different situations in life through adversity. You find you're coping really well one day, and then the next day you're sort of sitting on the lounge and it's awfully quiet, and you're looking around going, well, okay, so this is it, where is everybody? And then also just that parenting pull, that the heartstrings and that real, it's like, I feel like I'm heartbroken most days, but you just get on with it. And it's sort of to offset that. I'm a meditator, so I've been meditating sort of twice a day now for the last sort of almost 2 years, 18 months to 2 years. And I've found enormous, sort of salvage in that. It's incredible. I can't describe what the difference it would make to someone's life. I don't want to get all too spiritual on you here, Miller, but
do it. Let's go.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I was put onto it by a friend and gave it a go and thought, I'm not going to be able to do this. This is just So I tried it, and I went to a course and got instructed by a teacher. And look, haven't looked back. The space between thoughts that I'm able to create since taking on this meditation and even being able to see problems from a different point of view, as before, to before I was meditating, it's profound. It has huge power, and you sleep better, you think better, and there's just a calmness about you in general day-to-day life. And I've found that really helpful this year in negating, the bumps with having the kids move away.
For sure. Like, I think, like most single dads probably experience that time and that transition from seeing your kids regularly to not at all, or minimally. It's a very hard thing because you're there with your own thoughts, and those, you're your own worst enemy. And Absolutely. Being able to manage that it's so fucking hard, in conjunction with everything else that's obviously going on. Absolutely. So meditation was the go for you.
It was the goal kicker for me. I dare say I'd be lost without it at the moment. I've been in tears, of recent months. I've had some really low days, and some really low points and things, and the meditation's just incredible. It really just pulls you back into a place of sort of calm and peace, and you think more logically. You think you don't have those thoughts of irrational panic and everything's doom and gloom. And what it does is it creates space between you and your thoughts, so you can identify thoughts as just thoughts rather than actual reality.
For sure.
And I think that's where a lot of us get tripped up in life. We tend to we latch onto these these thoughts, these negative thoughts, or these situations, and think that they're they're dire and they're forever and whatnot. And meditation can teach you that they're just passing thoughts and they're not real, and they're fleeting.
For sure.
That thought that you had 5 seconds ago is gone now, and you sort of, but the meditation will give you more space between your thoughts.
Yeah, great.
Which is what you want.
Yeah, totally agree. So you said earlier that going through this split, in some ways you're a better person now.
Yeah.
What do you think are the things that have opened up to you, your awareness about who you are, or the character traits that you've developed as a result?
Yeah, look, I think for me the biggest thing that I've learned is becoming more responsive and less reactive to situations. I think when I was younger and whatnot, if something pissed me off or whatever, I'd fire up and I'd be fly off the handle and some kind of tantrum or whatever. But I think through this whole journey I've learned that reactionary behavior is never good. Reactionary behavior comes from emotion, like emotions like fear, frustration, anger, panic. Those things never give way to good action. So I've learned to be more responsive, and when I say responsive, I mean take into account what's going on at the moment. You get a phone call you don't like or whatever, put the phone down. Okay, I'm going to chill for 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit on this, and I'm going to give it some time. Then you come back to it with a new approach, and you're like, okay, how do I feel now? What's my best way forward now? And that's hugely powerful, I've found, because often when we react and we're reactionary, we make bad decisions, and we'll do sort of stupid stupid calls.
Oh, you say things that you don't
right? And you
mean,
can't take
or
some of that back sometimes.
Exactly, especially over text messages and stuff like that. And then, sometimes that can be used as evidence or
Absolutely.
whatever, worst case.
I mean, I see guys coming into that kind of situation all the time, guys, humans, whoever, stay off your text messages and try and just take a moment, have a breath.
I know, and we were speaking about that off air, but just before, about, it's a text message. It means that you don't have to reply right then.
No, there's no timeline on it. It doesn't explode after, an hour.
Exactly.
Detonate after an hour. Yeah. It's there for as long as you want it to be there. And look, sometimes you don't even have to respond at all.
Yeah, very true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm finding real power in sometimes, if you don't like a message or whatever, don't respond. Come back to it, later, or make a phone call instead or something like that. But I think the real power here is, and I know in a lot of single dad situations I talk to, and these situations can be really tricky, landscape for a lot of men, and they, it draws on a lot of emotion and a lot of kind of raw emotion, and you've just got to learn to really kind of just take that space for yourself.
For sure.
Sit in that space for a little while before you act on anything, and and you make better decisions.
Totally. And I think it's a real skill to be able to create that space for yourself. Because sometimes it's a very primal thing, you know, like we're talking about our kids here, and it means that it's very close to our hearts. And like, again, we were speaking about before, it's like, if there's one thing I know that I need to be there for my kids. I might be unsure, insecure, lacking confidence in many things in my fucking life, but I know that for sure.
And absolutely.
And then you're in that precarious situation of maybe you can't see them, or you know, things with your ex aren't that great, so you're kind of walking on eggshells, and
absolutely
it's this very difficult situation to be in.
And that's kind of where, you know, I found myself this year in this situation of having the distant parent thing going on, you know, because for the last, you know, 8 years, whatever, my children have been like my rock. So you know, if you're having a bad day or whatever, you just know that you've got your kids to hold on to, not physically, just they're there, you know, and physically is always amazing as well. But, you know, I think, you know, I sort of sacrificed my dating life and things recently and all that. And, you know, I probably clung onto the children too tightly, as in my whole identity became around them. And learning, that's another lesson that I've learnt this year, is that learning to let go is sometimes a way of holding on.
For sure.
And there's real power in that, you know, and you know, sometimes you've just got to release your grip a little bit to actually move forward with things. You know, holding on too tightly to anything, a partner, a woman, a child, a job, anything. You know, I'm sure everyone can attest to holding on to something too tightly and then having it slip through their hands.
Oh, and it's so true, mate, because you create this, I guess, dependency on the thing.
Yes.
And you hold on to it out of fear of losing it.
Yes.
And then it makes you hold on tighter.
Yeah.
And then the more that you hold on that tighter, the less likely that, like, say, a woman, she pulls away.
Yeah.
You know, or you want that validation, or you want that promotion so much that you piss your boss off, or, you know, and you self-sabotage it in that way.
Absolutely.
It's a very interesting thing, and it is true. And it takes a bit of courage, I guess, to be able to let go like that.
Yeah.
Have you found that?
I have. I've found that it's almost counterintuitive. Yeah. You know, our urges and our parenting drives tell us that, you know, you don't let go of your children, or you don't let go of your career, or you don't let go of anything if you truly believe in it and it makes you get up in the morning. But I'm learning that, you know, you can hold on too tight, and you know, I guess that's that sort of spiritual side of me that I've learned through meditation and whatnot, that letting go is sometimes the path.
For sure.
And it's been really powerful for me to be able to do that.
Great. So, Matt, I wanted to ask you, you know, like with your work and stuff, obviously it's hard to not have this affect you day to day when you're at work. Like it affects you, you know, when you're at work and stuff. So how have you been able to manage that?
I'm pretty lucky with my work in that when I get to work, there's a lot of distraction going on. We work in a pretty dynamic environment where no 2 days are ever the same. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of energy. You know, we've got sort of, say, you know, 32 lifeguards in the team, but on any given day, there's probably 15 of us all working together. And there's some really big energy there. Like, there's some big personalities. So that's a good distraction for me. But work, it's good because my work requires me to be really vigilant and on when I'm at work. So I find that going to work is a place where I can kind of go and immerse myself in what's going on that given day, and not have to, you know, sort of worry about what's going on in your personal life or whatever. Then, you know, you finish work and then you're back into your, you know.
So I think, like you said, there's a lot of big personalities there. Like, have you been able to kind of lean on those men in there and stuff?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think, you know, I was saying to someone the other day, our lifeguard service is like this huge big family, and it really is a band of brothers. I've not seen support in any other job or even, you know, sort of group of friends like I've seen in that lifeguard service. And there's been, over the years, there's been quite a few people that have gone through different, you know, bumps in life and whatever. And the support amongst those guys surrounding themselves with each other is amazing. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's a real credit to the service, the people that are involved. They're an amazing group of guys and girl.
True. Yeah, and I think, like we've spoken about before, you know, that's what's kind of lost a bit with men, is being able to reliably lean on other men around them in a meaningful way that isn't just talking about, I don't know, fucking nonsense or whatever, but it's actually like real shit.
Yeah.
You know, and I think sometimes we find that our pain or our insecurities isolate us because we all think that everyone else has got it okay. But the reality is that those things should be the biggest, strongest things that connect us. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And I think it's been lost a little bit.
Yeah, look, it's you hit the nail on the head when you said, you know, connecting, and it's connectivity. It's we're not connecting on the big things in life, and let's be honest, there's no one that's cruising through life like, you know, tripping through the daisies and got this, you know, Pollyanna existence. We're all, you know, sort of, you know, managing some kind of stress or situation, and you know, I find that as guys, we tend to sort of just smother that stuff up, and we don't open up and talk about it honestly, like man to man, and you know, and I think there's a lot of a way to go forward with that. For sure. It's starting to happen, you know, there's a lot of the movement about start a conversation. Yeah. But I think there's still a long way to go with guys being able to, you know, to do that. And look, women do it so well. And, you know, I would argue that that's why women, I mean, if you look at suicide rates between men and women, you know, men are much higher. And you know, women support themselves well. That's something that women do really well and is a credit to them. And I wanted to ask you, like, for any other single dads that are maybe listening, so you're 8 years deep into this and, you know, still going through your own challenges. And like we spoke about, there's many layers and stuff, but you know, say there's a single father out there who's listening and just kind of maybe in the earlier stages, like what's maybe some advice that you've got? Yeah, look, there's so much advice. You know, I think sometimes, you know, finding logic over emotion in a situation is a good one. You know, I think whenever we're thrust into adversity, our emotions can tend to take over and blind you with this whole wave of like, oh, this is terrible, this is not fixable, you know. And I think any single father, you know, I think Miller, you were saying to me earlier the same thing, that when you come into that situation, you feel like part of your life's broken. You know, it's like, oh, this is broken. This is not how it's meant to be. Like, how do I end up in this shit? Yeah. And how do I fix it? Yeah. You know, and then that gives way to all of these emotions that, you know, then sort of hold you stuck, you know? Yeah. So what you got to try and do is find the logic rather than the emotion. And that means look at the facts, you know? I mean, okay, you've come unstuck from your relationship or your family or your children. It's you know, it's not doom and gloom, you know. You can move forward with this, and you know, you've just got to be patient, but don't get overwhelmed by the you know, emotions of it. Also, just again, you know, with like, be responsive, don't be reactive. It's a mistake that we all make, you know, and it's a mistake that's so costly. Like, that reactivity really sends you down the wrong path. And I know that, you know, we all get our buttons pushed by, you know, sort of, you know, whatever various the situation is. Yeah. But if you can learn to just pause, and, you know, however long it is, just pause. Just don't react straight away. Think about the situation and, you know, and go from there. But then the other thing is, like, take good care of yourselves. Yeah. You know, like, guys, don't go to the pub and just get smashed every night and get in fights and all that kind of thing. And, you know, or you know, the other thing is guys tend to sort of really go chasing women for the first, you know what I mean? Like, I did it, like, you know, for the first year or whatever. You go on this whole thing of like, oh, okay, well, I'm out of my marriage now. How do I feel better? I know. I'm going to go chase chicks around. And it's not the answer, because it almost makes you feel a little bit more hollow. You know what I mean? Totally. Could you sort of attest to that? Oh, totally, mate. You know, it's the old saying of best way to get over someone is get under someone else. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's just avoiding. You're delaying. The growth. Yeah, exactly. And it's a vice. At the end of the day, and you know, with all vices, it's just a band-aid that makes you feel better temporarily, but doesn't do anything for you long term. And what I like, what you said before was, I guess it was about finding the meaning in the adversity. So it's like, how can you
find that golden nugget of meaning for yourself through this thing that's going to be the why you go through this.
Absolutely. And you know, like it's kind of, it's one of those things where, you know, they say there's a blessing in every tough situation, and you know, it's like, you know, where there's no struggle, there's no strength. So if nothing else, you're becoming a stronger, more evolved human through this process. And it may suck, and it may, you know, like pull every resource out of you, and you know, getting out of bed is an effort, and it is, you know, and it's just, you can be at your lowest point, and you know, and think, well, what is all of this? What's this mean? But there is a meaning in there, and there is also a blessing in there, you know, and whether that blessing may be that you might find your dream partner 3-4 years down the track or whatever. You might even, for instance, and I know this, you know, happened for me, you have a better, closer relationship with your children because as a single parent, when you're with those children wholeheartedly and one-on-one. Whereas I think, you know, sometimes dual parenting, the situation is like, oh, well, my wife's here, she can kind of, you know, talk to the kids for a while or whatever. I'm just out the back on my phone or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And you tend to, I think, I did it myself, when you're in a co sort of parenting situation, you tend to take it a little bit for granted.
For sure.
Being with your children. And I think this kind of taught me, but can teach others to really be a sort of better parent.
Be more present and give them your full focus, because it's all up to you at the end of the day when they're with you.
You're the man. You know what I mean? Like, these children are looking at you and going, okay, well, what do we, you know, well, what's this whole ride about? You know, and make me a better human.
I love that. And with, I guess, the relationship that you have with your ex now, there have been any things that have helped you with that relationship that have made things better?
Yeah, look, I think definitely one of the lessons I learned early with, especially, you know, with dealing with my ex is you know, choose your battles wisely. It's a simple thing. Don't go to war over everything. You know what I mean? And you know, we did in the beginning and whatnot, and it just doesn't get you anywhere. It just creates more drama, more hassle, more friction. The children get involved in all of that kind of thing, and there's no progress. So one of the key learning areas was to just kind of pick your battles wisely and say to yourself, is this worth going to war with my ex, or is this worth causing an argument over, or is this worth, or can I swallow this? You know, can I swallow this one? You know, shit sandwich, whatever you want to call it. And you know, sort of just kind of work around it. But that was a really big one for me, and I'm getting better and better at that one as we sort of go along. I'm kind of learning to like hold my tongue and go, you know,
It's a continual thing. It's a continual thing, mate. But I think it's sage advice, because this is a long game. You know, like your kids,
a long game.
They're till 18 minimum, let's say. That you're going to have this working relationship with, you know, your partner. So, you know, it's like, I think something I always like to think about is this something that I want to win, but could I potentially lose this, quote unquote, to rebuild the relationship? Right? Because it's give and take. It doesn't matter what the fuck it is.
Like, it's going backwards to go forwards sometimes.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, I think that's...
I think that's probably one of the most powerful things you can sort of express in these kind of situations, is that, you know, don't let your ego be the governing force between you sort of, you know, making, you know, progress or not. You know, the ego is a powerful thing. We've all sort of got it going on in our heads, but it can drive us into some pretty silly places. So, you know, don't be, you know, sort of driven by your ego. Like, think to yourself, is this, you know, what's the whole situation in this? Is it really World War III type kind of stuff, or is it, do I just go, you know what, okay, well, I don't get to, you know, do this that weekend, or you know what I mean? There's different scenarios, but the principle is the same. Like, just work out for you whether it's not. Obviously, you've got to stand your ground on some things, but don't go to, you know, sort of.
Like we were talking about before, how, you know, information is power. How do you feel like, you know, you have felt when it comes to the family law process?
Yeah, it's always a tricky one, is it? And you know, I profess to absolutely know nothing about it at all. And you know, I know in my situation we've steered clear of that process tried to be sort of as amicable as we can with things. But, as you say, like, knowledge is power, and it's probably something that, if you're a single parent and you're in these sorts of situations, it is good to be across, the process and know what your rights are and whatnot.
Totally.
Again, I mean, if you can be amicable in things, it's always, sort of a better path.
Yeah.
I hear stories of, single parents in court and whatnot, and there's a lot of money exchanging hands in
for sure.
Yeah, lining solicitors and barristers' pockets. But it's definitely, as you said, knowledge is power, and knowing what you're dealing with and all of that kind of thing is definitely key.
I think, mate, it's so true. Like, because it's the fear that constrains men.
Yeah.
And in today's day and age, like, sometimes it feels really scary to be a man.
Oh, it is.
It is. It's, I think
I would argue that it's a tough time to be a man. We had a conversation earlier about, it's a very positive time to be a woman, and there's a lot of good change going on for women, and we're moving forward in a lot of ways with, women's liberation and equality, and that's fantastic, and, I'm glad that's happening. But in the wake of that, there's also been this, undertide of men have kind of, sometimes in the media been demonized or accused of misogyny and those kinds of things. And I think a lot of guys, sort of don't really know how that sits with them. Like, what is it to be a man these days? Is it something you're proud of, to stand up and say?
Yeah.
And I think, given a lot of media attention lately, it's something that a lot of guys are like, I don't know how I feel like.
But if anything that's come out of it, it's like, it's good to ask that question.
Yes.
Of, do I like to be a man? Like, what is it that I stand for?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
Like, and I think that is actually a good thing, because they're good questions to ask. Because I think, a lot of times we don't, we're not taught how to be a man.
Right.
We're not taught, like, the way to kind of show up in a healthy way. And I know, that's a big thing for you with your sons that you're trying to instill in them, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard thing to keep showing up when the odds are against you, and and I know even in my case with the distant parenting thing this year, it's hard to swallow and it's hard to sit with, but I have to keep making the phone calls and keep making sure that they know that I'm there and I'm present. And on my screensaver on my phone, I've got the words "keep showing up," because you just have to keep showing up, and children need to know that you're there even if they can't see you. They need to know that you love them, and I always finish every phone call with "love you, mate." I don't always get one back.
Okay.
Especially not from a 15-year-old, but I always make sure I put that in there, and just being affectionate with your kids, especially as a father. It's really powerful to let them know that you love them. And it's something that I had a sort of tricky relationship with my father when I was younger, and he wasn't the most affectionate man or approving man, and I think I always battled with that when I was a kid, and it kind of, sort of didn't really sit well with me. And we're great friends now, and I've got a lot of respect for him as a man now. But at the time, I realised how important it is to actually show your kids that you love them.
For sure.
And, they'll sort of, they'll blow it off most days and like, yeah, whatever, Dad, whatever, Mum, whatever.
Yeah.
But they have to know it.
Yeah.
It's integral for their development.
For sure. And are there any other, I guess, values or traits that you're trying to really instill in your boys?
Yeah, look, obviously just being a man in today's world is being in touch with yourself. Like, just, I'm a pretty strict father. I run a sort of pretty tight ship, and that means not always being the fun guy. But I think, deep down, I've taught them a lot of respect for people and values and that kind of thing through being quite a firm father. We have a lot of fun, but I think my dad was quite firm with me, and I always sort of had a lot of respect for him for being that kind of
strict.
And I mean, that's not to say going over the top or anything like that. It's just be firm, be strict, teach them values, and they'll look up to you, and they'll forever sort of follow that path if that's the path you set for them.
Yeah, and I think it's like what you're really, I guess, teaching is, you have to live within a set of bounds.
Parameters.
Yeah, right? Because in today's day and age, like, it's so easy to most men don't have the bounds, let's say,
No.
right? And they don't even ask the question of what kind of man do I want to show up as?
Yeah.
What are the things that are important to me? You
Yeah.
know, and I think that's kind of what you're talking about.
That's exactly right. I mean, you know, the world's an interesting place at the moment. You know, the sort of the differences now to when our parents grew up and whatnot. There's a whole different sort of landscape out there, and we have to be mindful of showing our kids boundaries and respect and you know, manners. You know, that's something that's very kind of been
Crazy.
watered down a lot these days. Manners, you know, you see it in young people and even adults. I mean, you know, the whole thing of manners is huge for me. So I think we've got to just keep, you know, teaching our children those boundaries and be firm with them, but not in a, you know, sort of crazy kind of way. Just, you know, there's an art to doing it.
For sure.
Assertively is the word I would use.
Yeah. So with your journey so far as being a single dad, I guess, what has been, I guess, in maybe the really dark times, has there been anything else that has really allowed you to have that, the light, you know? Because sometimes it can be dark, right? And it can feel like it's never gonna end. You're never gonna see your kids. They're gonna be, you know, you go down that negative spiral. But you know, you have that. You've got meditation, obviously.
Yeah.
Is there any other things that you've done or any other breakthroughs that have allowed you to see that light?
Yeah, like hacks.
Yeah.
Like a mind hack, a Jedi mind hack.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's all about getting to know yourself. Like I've been single a long time now, and I mean I kind of find that I'm enjoying my own company more and more as time goes on. Like I wasn't always like that before the you know, sort of separation. I was very much relying on having other people around all the time, and you know, I think one of the best things you can do is to get to spend a little bit more time on your own. There's huge power in that space. Not only do you get to know who you are, you get to know what you like, what you don't like. Just even the solitude sometimes of being on your own and that kind of thing. And I think that's something that, you know, is if you're a single father and you're battling and things, don't run away from that time on your own. You know, don't always surround yourself with people and crowd your spaces with energy and people. It's just kind of create a little bit of space, even if it's a little bit of time each day just on your own, just to kind of sit with things and
for sure
let everything just kind of marinate and you know what I mean? And get to terms with what's going on, because I think we have a tendency to run from what's going on in our lives, and we distract ourselves
for sure,
you know, and I think for me, one of the best things that I could have done was just start to spend a little bit more time on my own, get to know myself and what I like and what I don't like. And now I'm at the point where I would just love my own company, you know, and but yeah, look, exercise is huge too. Like I can't underestimate how big the power of exercise for anyone going through a difficult time in their life. Just having that release, you know, plus the endorphins and whatnot. It's huge. You know, guys, go to the gym, go for a run, go for a swim, go for whatever it is you do. Just make some time for yourself to do that. I think that's very much part of the healing process.
Oh, totally. Totally.
You know, not everyone's going to want to meditate, but a lot of guys will want to exercise and whatnot. So, and just acceptance and surrender to your situation.
That's big.
You know, like it's the hardest thing to do, but I think we all fight the acceptance and you know, we don't surrender to what's going on. And when I say surrender, I don't mean, you know, put the white flag up and go, oh, it's all over, I'm handing in my, you know what I mean?
No, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, you know, surrender means, okay, this is the situation, I don't like it, but I can sit with it and I can work with it. You know, and that means as soon as you start to do that, that's when you can start moving forward and start creating plans on getting to where you want to be.
Yes.
Is this the career I want? I've got a, you know, sort of chance to rebuild my life right now. Like, is this the career path I want to go in? What kind of partner do I want next? Or, you know, do I want to, you know, sort of have more children? Do I, you know, and so you've got an opportunity to sort of really recreate your life in these situations.
Very true, man. Very
acceptance and surrender is really big in that.
I love that. I love that. I think that it's so true. It's kind of, and maybe it allows you to it's kind of obvious, but accept the situation that you're in, because sometimes it's like, no, this is not right, and this can't be.
I didn't plan this life. Like, I was going to have the 3 children and the white picket fence out the front and the whole fairy tale ending. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this train wreck? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't put my hand up for this. And like a lot of people will fight it for the rest of their life and deny it and, and push it away and whatnot. But I've learned that, it's accepting and surrendering to the situation is the first point of starting to move forward and past it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just living in denial.
Yeah. Yeah. And in that place is just full of like resistance and
and wrong energy.
Yeah. Totally.
So
beautiful, mate. Well, appreciate you coming on here. Is there any other final words or advice?
I would just, I'm really happy to have had this opportunity. I've been a big follower of yours for some time now, and I think appreciate the work that you're doing for single dads is incredible, and I think what's needed right now is a beacon of light in a pretty sort of dark space for a lot of single dads, and it's a minefield, and having someone like yourself lighting the way and doing that for guys that are in a little bit of a tough predicament is amazing. So I would encourage you to just keep doing what you're doing, and
will do.
And for anyone who knows anyone in a similar, get on to Miller. He's doing some great stuff. So yeah,
appreciate it, brother. Well, again, thanks for jumping on. Appreciate you being here, and thanks for your wise words.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.